I'm Beth Grisham, and it's been my honor for the past 11 years to serve as the Executive Director of Shoals Sav-A-Life. If this is your first introduction to our ministry, I hope you'll stay with us to the end of this program as I and my staff, along with some of our clients and friends, take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. Our mission statement says that we are a non-denominational crisis pregnancy center whose purpose is to promote the sanctity of life by sharing God's love through evangelism, education, and support of people before, during, and after crisis pregnancies. That's a lot of words, so we want to show you what that means through real-life stories. Our before efforts take place through our certified SRA group presenters. That's short for sexual risk avoidance, while services to clients during a crisis pregnancy are provided by a caring and highly qualified staff at our clinic in Florence. With degrees in social work, nursing, and substance abuse and alcohol counseling, they, along with trained volunteers, meet our clients with encouragement, kindness, and grace, as well as a list of resources we and other agencies across the Shoals area are able to provide. Needs vary with every client, but in the past, we've provided parenting skills classes, baby care items, maternity clothes, utilities, groceries, cribs, diapers, resume prep, and transportation to and from prenatal care visits. And on 2 occasions, we've even provided help obtaining a vehicle. For a mom who may feel like she's in over her head, knowing we're here for her can make all the difference if she's actively considering abortion as an option. On more than one occasion, relationships have developed between us and scared expectant moms who came through our doors for a pregnancy test and ended up bonding with us in such a way that they still drop by years later like family, just coming for a visit or a hug or to bring donuts or to simply share an update on their life or their baby. We're super excited to bring you our special speaker, Reggie Dabbs, later in the video. But first, let's watch this clip of Anna, one of our staff members, as she joins Katie, a recent client, in sharing about her experience at our clinic.
My name is Anna, and I work directly with the clients at Shoals Sav-A-Life from the time they first come in for their pregnancy test until they go to have their baby. I have an associate's degree in substance abuse counseling because drug and alcohol addiction is something that has been a part of my life and my family's life since before I was born. My father was an alcoholic and a drug addict and eventually died of an overdose when I was 19 years old. My stepfather was also an addict the first several years he was married to my mom, but thankfully he's been sober for about 14 years now. I always said if I could help one person not have to go through the things that I went through as a kid, then it would be completely worth it. And that's why I love what I do at Shoals Sav-A-Life. My background helps me relate to the girls who come to the clinic in several ways. Although both of my dads were physically present in my life, due to their addictions, there were times that I didn't have the consistency or the security you think of a father providing. I see that with a lot of our girls. But because of my life experience, along with my educational background, I'm able to recognize ladies we serve who are either dealing with addiction themselves, in a relationship with someone who uses drugs or alcohol, or maybe even had parents who are addicts just like I did. I can relate to these expectant moms who come into our clinic. My son was only 8 months old when I divorced, and I know that the majority of our clients will be single moms. I'm able to show them that if I can do it with the Lord's help, they can do it too. I'm so thankful for all the clients the Lord has allowed me to meet and cross paths with at Shoals Sav-A-Life. There's been several occasions where I've been able to call and help ladies who are in active addiction get into treatment. There's also been girls I know who are going to be single moms that I've been kind of able to mentor along the way. These girls aren't just clients to us. We look forward to seeing them each time they come in. We build relationships with them. We think about them on the weekends and at night when we go home. Katie is always one that comes to my mind when I think of clients who are special to me. Our personalities and parts of our life stories are similar. We really just clicked from day one. She's become more like a little sister to me than anything. Katie was pregnant and knew she was probably going to be a single mom while she was taking our preparing for baby classes. I took that time to really encourage her and teach her things that I've learned from being a single mom. I just tried to be that person for her that I would have hoped to have in my life if I'd been 19 years old and in her shoes. I'm encouraged now to see Katie thriving, walking with the Lord, and being a wonderful mother to her little girl. I'm just thankful that I got to be a small part of that.
I first heard about Shoals Sav-A-Life through my pastor's wife. I actually went for my first appointment there before I even went to my doctor when I was about 7 or 8 weeks pregnant. At that point, I really hadn't mentally processed my pregnancy. I knew I was pregnant, but at the same time, I felt like the whole situation was happening to somebody else and not me. I knew somehow it was God's plan for my life, but at the same time, I wasn't sure how it was going to be a good plan for me. At the time, I was a single, 19-year-old college student, and I didn't know how He could use somebody like me. I felt very unqualified to be a mom, and I was so scared. I went to Shoals Sav-A-Life for parenting classes about once a week during my pregnancy. I felt more prepared because I'd been around babies before, but I didn't know what it was like to be a mom. What do you do when this happens or this happens? The classes made me feel like I could do it. The biggest benefit to me from my visits there was that I grew so close to everyone at Shoals Sav-A-Life, and I felt valued. They reminded me that I was chosen to be Camilla's mom. So if anything else that they could have offered me, that's the biggest takeaway I got from going to those classes. The classes were very well balanced with practical application for parenting, but they also gave me spiritual guidance. The worksheets that I got every week had a prayer at the end. If you find yourself in this situation, this is what you can pray and ask God to help you and guide you. The classes validated how I felt. It was okay to be sad. It was okay to be scared. But that didn't mean God didn't have a plan for me and for my baby. I got really close to Anna, one of the staff at Shoals Sav-A-Life, during my pregnancy. I saw her behind the desk when I went for my first appointment, and I remember thinking, I want to be like that girl. I didn't even know her. I'd not even talked to her yet. And then we did classes together every week, and she became like family to me then. She's still like family to me now. She gave me the best guidance, the best encouragement, and the reassurance that just because bad things might be happening, and just because it might feel bad right now, it doesn't mean God has left you alone. And it doesn't mean it's going to be bad forever. She displayed a strength to me that I wanted to have. And now that I'm a mom, hearing her talk about her little boy and how she's handled things, it's still something that I try to apply to my life now. I can never come up with the right words to thank those who have donated to Shoals Sav-A-Life. It's more than just a donation. It's more than just a car seat or a bottle or baby clothes. For me, when I left with these items, it was more about the comfort of knowing that people who don't even know me were praying for me. People who don't even know me are cheering me on as a parent.
As you just heard, fathers have a major role in a child's life, and when they're absent, a protection or covering is lifted off of that child. Acts 7 uses the word exposed to describe the babies who were removed from the safety of their fathers' homes to be thrown into the Nile River in the days when the Israelites were being oppressed by the Egyptians. That one word, exposed, paints such a clear picture of the dangerous position our children are in when a father isn't present to act as their protector. This next story comes from a friend I've known for years, but for most of that time, I was unaware that he was part of an abortion years ago. I can almost guarantee that you too know someone who's chosen abortion as the answer to their problem. He's made peace through Christ, but it's a part of his story he'll never forget.
It's been 41 years since my first wife and I had an abortion. I'm not always sure about a lot of things, but I know that in this situation, we didn't make the right decision. We were married and already had a son that was 18 months old, but our marriage was in trouble and my wife didn't want to have the baby. When she told me she wanted an abortion, my reaction was to say, I don't care what you do. That was my response. I don't know if it would have made any difference or not if I'd have been against it, but I'm sure it wouldn't have hurt anything if I'd have said the right thing. I look back on that situation now and I can't understand how my mindset could have been that bad off. but somehow it was. I know people sometimes say that in situations like ours, abortion might be the best answer. But a decision like that is never going to make things better. And to this day, I'm so sorry that we made the decision that we made. I've since made peace with the whole situation after the Lord helped me confront what I had buried so deep for so long, I didn't even realize it was still affecting me. I found peace that day like I'd never had. And I want to tell you that if you've ever been involved in an abortion, you can have peace just like I do. And you don't have to carry that burden anymore. God forgives those who make mistakes if we repent and ask Him. So just believe and know that God restores. He restored me, and He will restore you too if you ask. If I can tell you anything to help you find the peace you need, I would tell you to just believe that God is faithful, that He loves you, and He will forgive you.
God has such an amazing way of bringing just the right people together, and that's also true when it comes to the SRA group presentations I mentioned earlier. Listen now to Anthony Potts, our lead SRA presenter, and Heather Mize, a teacher in Colbert County, as they talk about the impact the SRA presentations made on her students.
The first presentation I had with the SRA group was the first year I taught at my current school. Anthony Potts came to speak to my child development class of around 20 students who were all girls. I had several girls in the class at that time who came from difficult backgrounds, who came from a home where their father was absent or their father was in and out of their life. And I believe at that time I actually had a student in my class that was pregnant. And so these girls were desperate for love, especially a father's love. Anthony talked to them about the importance of love and what a healthy relationship looks like. I don't remember all the details of that day, but I do remember the impact it had on my students when Anthony told them what true love looks like, how a man should treat a woman, and the response that these girls had. They actually cried. To hear a man talk to them and tell them that they were worthy and they should be respected and what respect looks like, and hearing it from a man who didn't want anything from them, it was a very emotional day. I just remember thinking, I've got to have them come back every year.
I've been working with teens for almost 20 years. In the past, my initial call to the ministry was just in the church setting, but I love the opportunity to make an impact in the schools where I get to impart value to students who attend church and to those that don't. The reach of our department has grown from 1,500 students a year to over 11,000 every year in 8 school districts in 3 counties across Franklin, Colbert, and Lauderdale counties in North Alabama. The sexual risk avoidance message centers around the decisions kids make and the outcome of those decisions, using the mantra, decisions determine your direction in life, which in turn determines your destinations in life. We talk about topics like the importance of knowing your self-worth and value, dangers and risk of sexting and pornography, the laws of sexual consent, dangers and risk of alcohol and drug use, and risk of teenage pregnancy. So many of the kids we see have so much potential for making great decisions that lead to great destinations in life, but they just need somebody to point the way for them to get there. I love getting the opportunity to educate, encourage, empower these kids to make choices they can live with and that results in healthy outcomes, and to encourage them to reach their life goals. I've been married to my wife for 21 years, and I'm a dad to 3 kids of my own, and connecting with them and with all of these kids in the schools is the most satisfying thing I've ever done. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 18.3 million children, 1 in 4, live without a biological, step, or adoptive father in the home. With so many fathers absent from homes, there is a father factor in nearly all social ills facing our country. The fact that I'm a male speaking positive truths to these students fills a gap that needs to be filled.
The final story we have to share with you comes from a man I've had the privilege to meet because of his passion to reach students with hope and encouragement. His passion is rooted in his own life story, which includes many of the elements we've discussed already. But this is a story you need to hear straight from him. the man who is the motivational speaker for the Super Bowl, all 32 NFL teams, and several NBA teams, including the Los Angeles Lakers, and who tells his story with a saxophone in his hand to millions of students every year. It's my pleasure to bring you Mr. Reggie Dabbs.
I grew up being told everyone has a story. Everyone has a day they wish had never happened, a moment they wish they could go back and change, but they cannot. There's a girl who has a story. She fell in love with a man and had a boy. His name is Keith, and they were happy. And then she got pregnant again and had twin girls. They named them Annette and Jeanette. So now it's the 3 kids, mom and dad. Everything's great until a Monday. I think people always have that in their life. But one day something happened. But one day something changed. This was their but one day. On a Monday morning, the husband hugged his wife and left to go to work. And at 5 o'clock, when he's supposed to come home, he never came back. By that night, she called the police, and by the next day, no one knew where he was. Then it's Wednesday, but on Wednesday morning, the sheriff department comes to her house, and when they came, she thought they had news about her husband, but instead, it was an eviction. You see, her husband left on Monday saying he's going to work, but he never came home because he hid all the eviction notices, and now this lady's on the street with a boy and 2 girls and nowhere to go. She lived on an abandoned farm in a chicken coop. She had enough food for about 4 days. She had to get to 7 days for welfare to give her a place to live and some food stamps. When she ran out of food, her son and daughters were crying, and a stranger walked by the chicken coop. They were on an abandoned farm. I don't know if you can picture this in your mind, but that's where they were staying. When the man walked by, he heard kids crying. He walked up to the lady and says, "What are you doing here?" She says, "I have nowhere else to go until Friday. I have no more food. That's why they're crying." And the man said, "I'll give you $20. You can get food." And she thought this was her Good Samaritan until he said, "If you sleep with me." She would do anything for her kids. So thinking of Annette and Jeanette and Keith, she slept with the man and she got pregnant. She would have a boy, and that boy would be me. My name is Reggie. I speak in public schools all around the world, but my story started right there. A $20 bill, a mistake, a should have never been. There are a lot of kids growing up right now with that very thought, that they should have never been. What they're looking for and what they need is someone to walk into their classroom, someone to walk into their school, and someone to let them know 3 things. And here are the 3 things. 1, that they're seen. Somebody sees you just the way you are. 2, that they're loved. Somebody loves you. And 3, that they're heard, that someone's listening to you. That's what this program does. It helps young people know that they're loved, they're seen, and they're heard. And you have an opportunity to save the Reggies like me. You see, my mom gave me away to her favorite teacher at school. I was raised by that teacher whose husband was the school janitor. But there's one specific thing that happened that I want to pull out of my life for you today while you're watching this. I was 13 years old. I was told this story when I was 6 years old. By the time I was 13, that voice in my head was so loud that one morning at 3 a.m., that voice said, "You should not live, you should give up." And I started thinking about giving up on the gift of life. But that morning at 3 a.m., as I was crying in my bed, my bedroom door opened. My foster care dad, a janitor named Bill, walked in and he said, "Are you okay? I heard you cry." And I said, "How could you hear me cry? Your room's on the other end of the house." He said, "Oh, son, every day you hug your mom, but for the past 2 days, you haven't. Every day you talk to me, but for the past 2 days, you've been so quiet." I knew something was wrong, so I decided to do something. For the past 2 nights, I slept by your door, and this morning I heard you cry. Don't you get it today? This program that you can give to is sitting by the doors of every kid in northern Alabama. They're just waiting to get an opportunity to walk into these kids' lives and tell them that they're loved. Like a school janitor walked into my life at 3 o'clock in the morning and told me I was loved, That's what this program is going to do. And you have an opportunity to walk into a kid's life, to give them hope. Today is your day to change a kid's life. You may never see him physically, but you will touch a life. And that's what this moment is about. So I'm going to ask you, save a Reggie in Alabama today and help us.
Stories like Reggie's bring hope to dark places and hurting people, which is exactly what Shoals Sav-A-Life does as well. I want every mom and baby we serve, the one whose stepfather raped her, the one who showed up with bruises on her arm put there by her boyfriend, the one who was addicted to drugs and carrying the baby of a man sitting in jail. I want those women to know that no matter what words their earthly father spoke over or about or to them, there is a heavenly Father who says they are wonderful in His sight, full of purpose and loved by Him. I hope that as we've used the word ministry, you didn't mistake that for the idea of religion. Ministry actually comes from a Greek word meaning to serve, where religion is usually about traditions and ceremonies and rule keeping. God reminded me recently that when clients come to our center in the middle of their mess and chaos, yes, they need Jesus, but they need our staff to minister to them by serving as the hands and feet of Jesus to help carry their load and to show them what the love of Jesus looks and feels like, instead of just handing them some verses and a dose of religion and saying, now stop sinning and go live right. In those messy moments, we have the opportunity to live like Jesus, love like Jesus, and serve like Jesus with every client we meet. That's something they don't find on every corner. Meeting them in their mess and loving them anyway, through the gifts and services that you enable us to provide, makes all the difference. And walking the journey with them as long as they need us gives us the opportunity to live and speak into their situation, which means that when we do hand them a Bible, they are willing and ready to receive it, trusting that if God's gone this far to show them He cares, He'll see them through. And that is what saves lives. Without your support, none of this can happen. So as we close, let me ask you to do two things. First, I'm asking you to give, whether it's a $20 one-time gift, a $50 monthly pledge, or a $5,000 gift, to help reach our goal of opening a satellite location for some of our farthest clients. Every dollar helps. And second, I'm asking you to share this video with a friend or on your social media so others can see and know what we do at Shoals Sav-A-Life. Thank you so much for joining us. It's my prayer that from this point forward, we will always be friends for life.